well, time to bring in our panel of political strategists this afternoon, Grahame Morris and Bruce Hawker. Very good afternoon to both of you. Thanks for joining us. Look, I just wanted to start with this CPAC conference that took place in Sydney over the weekend, the Conservative Political Action Conference. First time it's been held in Australia. It's been running for a while in the United States. It just strikes me that the two of you probably been to more political conferences than anyone I know. Bruce, I know you're a regular attendee of various conferences in the United States. Just tell us, what's the point of these things? Is it simply just about sharing tips and tactics on how to campaign and win arguments and that sort of thing? I mean, what are these gatherings really all about?
Well, it provides an opportunity for like-minded people to get together to exchange ideas, just like any conference. And I guess it gives them an opportunity to look at where they can cooperate and collaborate on campaigns as well. So I guess that's what they're up to at CPAC over the weekend. I think it would have been a pretty boring gathering from where I stand.
Well, from your perspective, perhaps. But look, it seems to me, looking at the speaking lineup, though, I mean, you've got the likes of former PM Tony Abbott there, Nigel Farage and so on. It's also about trying to rev up the Conservative base in Australia. Is that fair to say, Grahame?
There's a bit of that. Bruce is sort of right, that it's an exchange of ideas. I've been to a couple in the US. I spoke at a couple, and that was an exchange of ideas on campaigns and television commercials in a campaign. But
so that's a more technical sort of... You're giving a more technical view of what works, what doesn't, why you do certain things in a campaign.
Yeah, from experience.
Yeah.
So you're saying, you know, we did this at work, that mightn't work for you, but by geez, it was fantastic for us, or you should have seen what our opponents did that blew us out of the water.
Yes.
So you exchange things like that. But, you know, there are lots of people saying that, you know, people should be banned from what they've said or what what they've said in the past or what their views are. Well, on that basis, boys and girls in the Labor Party who are jumping up and down, you want to ban the internet. Want to ban Twitter. It's a squillion times worse, and half of the junk's coming from your staff members. So, you know, we are a liberal democracy. We like people coming in and out and having a view, so they should.
All right. Well, speaking of having a view, let's talk about China, because there has been an interesting debate within the government, and look, it's probably not confined to the government, about how to talk about China. Bruce, to you first on this. Simon Birmingham, he is the Trade Minister, but he was, miffed at Andrew Hastie saying some critical things as critically as he did about China. What do you think? Should backbenchers be free to speak on even sensitive issues, complex issues like China, even if there is some risk to Australia's standing?
Well, I guess it depends where you stand in the pecking order on the backbench. I mean, Hastie is a committee chairman with responsibility for security matters, so... as such, I think he holds a much more significant position than somebody who might have just come into the parliament in the last few months and hasn't any real role to play. Having said that, I think that the real issues here are still going to be debated for years to come. Australia is very dependent on China for trade. It's our biggest trading partner. By the same token, we've got a high level of dependence on the United States for security issues. These tensions are going to play out constantly over the coming years, in my view, and it's going to flare from time to time spectacularly, particularly if something was to happen in Hong Kong in the coming weeks.
Well, yeah, that's the tipping point, I suppose, that people are worried about happening. But, Grahame, managing strong-minded backbenchers can be a challenge at the best of times, but on this issue in particular, it's a difficult one for the Prime Minister, isn't it?
Well, it's difficult, but that's what backbenchers are for, is to, get up and have a bit of a go. In the Liberal Party, they can. But I tell you what, it's really important that the journos do their job as well. You know, what Andrew Hastie actually said, as distinct from what the journos said he said, were two different things. All he said was that, in the lead up to the Second World War, the French particularly turned a blind eye to the growth of Germany. And, the fact is that people have turned a blind eye to the growth of China. It's a fact. He didn't say that all Chinese were sort of Nazis and wanted to exterminate race.
So why did C.S. Cormann and Christian Porter and Simon Birmingham put down on him like a ton of bricks?
Well, the same. I'll tell you why in a minute. But also, the Chinese embassy overreacted. They've come in. And you think, oh, fellas. But I do think we've got the balance right. You know, we can have this mate over here we deal with trade. We can have this mate over here we deal with historically and intelligence-wise. And that's how it should be.
Do you think it's really that easy?
Well, no, look, it's never easy, but it's right. You know, for all of those 5-cent experts out there on China, you tell me, if you don't like what's happened, just nominate which Chinese-occupied atoll you want to bomb. Just tell us which trading commodities, iron ore, coal...
Which jobs you'd be happy to wave goodbye.
And which towns do you want to get rid of? And how much in your kitchen, family room, dining room that's all made in China you want to give up? You know, it's just...
And that's a fair point.
We've got the balance right. And yes, of course,
But Bruce, you know, how much do we give away to keep those jobs, keep that trade, you know, keep all the money flowing in?
I don't quite understand what you mean by that, David.
Well, I mean, Grahame's point is a good one, that you know, we do need to protect that trade. We do need to protect our economic interest and the jobs, and they all hinge on that relationship with China. But do we turn a blind eye? You know, what do we sacrifice to keep that trade and that river of gold running?
Well, I think Australia has always been prepared to say when they see things which are wrong happening in foreign countries, and they usually use the United Nations as the vehicle for doing that. You know, we have been historically a strong voice. There have been times when we've been quiet, of course, but there have been other times when we've been quite vocal, and I think we should continue to do that. I think the Chinese expect us to do that. They're not foolish. They're very seasoned and experienced people in international diplomacy. So they understand that we have a role to play in reminding them about what's going on there, whether it actually makes any difference.
Well, they slap us down every time we do, though, Bruce. I mean, you know, Andrew Hastie speaks up and he gets a strong rebuke from China. They don't like it when we point things out.
Well, they never, you know, they didn't like it when Kevin Rudd went there in 2009, I think it was, and told them a few home truths as well. But
I remember being there at the time.
Me too. But you have to do it, and you don't necessarily get kudos for it, but it goes to demonstrating that you're not going to be pushed around. And I don't think the Chinese respect people that they can push around all the time either. So, you know, I think we probably do have the balance pretty right at the moment. You are going to have people coming out and saying things, and they should be continued to be allowed to say those sort of things. Because I don't believe in censorship. You know, I think we overreacted on the CPAC thing on the Labor side, for example. I think that we need to live in a world where we have to allow
just on that.
those
Sorry,
things
Bruce,
to be
I got to pick that up. You don't think Christina Keneally should have been calling for, you know, people to be banned from coming to the country?
Frankly, I don't. You know, I grew up as a young man in Queensland where we were banned from marching in the street. And I think that made a significant mark on me, you know, philosophically and politically. You know, there are certain rights which you should be able to exercise, even though we may think that these people are morons being turned into martyrs as a result of having that CPAC conference. I don't think we should go around being in the business of saying they should be banned. Sorry, Christina, I have to disagree with you on that one. It's rare, but I disagree.